Hi, I'm Tracey L Fisher. Welcome to a Reentry Point of View, Unapologetic. I'm here with my good friend Tim DeFord, and he's running for Auditor General. I'm going to introduce him to my audience so they can understand who's sitting here with me. In the elevator speech, Tim, tell us who you are.
Well, first of all, Tracey, it's nice to finally meet you, and I'd like to thank your viewers for also watching. In elevator speech, I'm running for Auditor General for a couple of reasons. One, I've been doing this type of work for 30 years. With the Inspector General's office and the Attorney General's office, investigating government fraud, waste, and abuse, making sure that the funds that were appropriated for certain areas, make sure that they went to those certain areas and that they were spent the way that they were supposed to. I'm currently Dauphin County Controller, which is the equivalent of the Auditor General, but on a county level. And in my second term, I was first elected in 2015, and when I was elected in 2015, I was the first African American in the history of Dauphin County to be elected as a road officer. And I was won re-election last year, and I was unopposed. So I have 30 years of auditing government fraud, waste, and abuse. And I believe those experiences would make me very much qualified to be Auditor General. In addition to that, I've worked with the Auditor General's office for most of those 30 years as well.
Wow. Now, that's qualifications. And everyone that knows me, especially my followers, they know that I'm big on being qualified to do the job. I don't care who you are. If your qualifications say that you can do the job and your opponent does not have the qualifications that you have to get the job done, it should be a no-brainer. But you're dealing with politics.
Exactly.
So you have to get it out there. So most people would look at a person because of their party they represent and vote that way or not vote that way. And the reason the urban community in Philadelphia, right, and this is a Democratic town, as everyone know, right, is in the fix that it's in, is because individuals that's running for office and has one office in this community was not qualified to do the job. So most of them get the job to get a paycheck and hopefully sometimes grow into the position. But we don't have time to go into a position when you in a city, literally, that's #1 in crime, #1 in poverty, and #1 in taxing our senior citizens. So we need individuals that's in office, literally, that's qualified to do the job. So you got over 78 something billion dollars, literally, that comes to Pennsylvania, which is 67 counties. Now, that money has to go through your office so you can determine where every dime goes and where it's supposed to go.
Right, exactly.
Exactly, right? What happens is, the money does not reach the urban community to the entities that actually is boots on the ground, and we living in poverty. Right. What you think of that?
Well, there's a problem. There's obviously a problem, and the problem is, so why aren't those funds getting to those communities? Why haven't those communities changed? And the funds that are being allocated, are they supposed to go? Are they going to where they're supposed to go to? And the way that the Auditor General does that is by performing audits and determining, okay, based on this bill, statute, or policy or regulation, the funds are supposed to go there. The funds are supposed to be used for this purpose. And if they're not, then the Auditor General then puts that in an audit report and makes a recommendation on how to fix that particular issue. But you said something very, very important, and that's qualifications. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I've been consistent with for my 30 years is I've been consistent with regards to what I've done in my career. If you go back and look at my resume, there is one word that's prevalent throughout my career. That's auditing and auditor. And it's the auditor's positions office that I'm seeking. I've again, you know, I've done it because growing up, my family didn't have a lot of money. I come from a family, a blue collar family. My father comes from a family of auto workers and steel workers from Warren, Ohio. My mother comes from a family of coal miners and auto workers from Toledo, Ohio. I understand what it's like to work hard. I understand what it's like to struggle. And when we pay our taxes as citizens of the state, we expect government to spend our tax dollars the same way as a family on a shoestring budget. It doesn't happen. And it's the Auditor General's responsibility to make sure that that does happen. And in this election, one of the things that I've said from day one, dealing with this, experience matters. Experience matters. Because look at the times that we're dealing with COVID, businesses shutting down. We don't know if the funds that the CARES Act funding for businesses and individuals who've lost their jobs and lost their businesses, we don't know if it's getting to, if the funds appropriated for them are even getting to them. So you have to have somebody who has a history of performing audits to determine if the funds did go, in fact, to where they're supposed to go to. And that's why I believe that I'm very qualified for this position. This is all I've done in my entire career.
Now, your opponent that you're running against is Nina Ahmad, right? If I'm pronouncing her name right. She was the deputy mayor, okay? Then she ran for Congress or whatever, other stuff. She ran for a lot of stuff. Right. But her background, because I do my homework, has nothing with audited in it at all. And people that knows me, my pet peeve is people running for a position and does not have the qualifications. So what I would say to my audience is this: if you have a toothache, why would you go to a foot doctor?
I would.
Because they say she's a scientist and it don't take a rocket science. Oh, yes, it does. To actually be able to deal with a type of finances and being a watchdog, because that's what you're going to have to be. And if you're going to be a watchdog over me, then I want to know you're qualified, and then I'm going to do everything in my power to help you get that job done.
Exactly.
I'm not going to sit there and assume like people do with the FDA, and they say, what's FDA approved? And then next thing you know, you got another head growing out your neck. Because the people dropped the ball. How many times they put stuff on the shelf and then do a recall? Right. Because they dropped the ball, because the people there was not qualified and didn't have the commitment and the compassion to get the job done. Right. That's the difference between you and the individuals. You bring commitment, compassion, and qualifications. What do you think of that?
And I couldn't have said it any better, because people don't understand what the Auditor General does. And the Auditor General is responsible for assuring that our tax-paying dollars are spent the way they're supposed to be spent. And the way you do that is by performing audits. And in auditing, so your viewers know, there's 3 different parts to an audit. There's pre-audit, and that's gathering the requirements on how the audit is supposed to be performed, and that can be done different ways depending on the audit. There's then the audit, actual doing the work. Then there's the post-audit, writing the report and making sure that if there's any audit recommendations or any audit findings, that they're carried out. And the only ones who can carry those out are the different departments, and the state legislature also has a say in it, and this to the governor. So it's not as easy as most people think that it is. All they need to do is to, and I urge everybody to take a look at the Pennsylvania Fiscal Code. The Pennsylvania Fiscal Code lays out what the Auditor General is supposed to do. It doesn't say Republicans do this, it doesn't say Democrats do that. It just says the Auditor General shall do this. And it's a technical document. And an audit is also a technical document. But in order to know what goes in an audit report, because there's different accounting standards that you have to follow, different auditing standards that you have to follow, different regulatory requirements that you have to follow. And these are all accounting and auditing standards and regulations that you have to follow. And if you don't have the experience dealing with that stuff, you're not going to know what needs to go in an audit while your team is performing it.
So what you're saying is a job of this magnitude, you can't afford on the job training and learning.
You can't, because what happens if you learn on the job, especially in a position like this, a lot of things are going to happen that you're going to miss. And I say this to you, and I say this to others. Based on my background, the only thing I need to start working from day one is the password to my computer. Because I've done this. And again, it's not the type of position where you learn on the job. Right now, we just can't afford it, because you're going to miss a lot of things. It took me decades to be the fraud investigator and the auditor that I am, because requirements are always changing. Every audit isn't the same. You're not doing the same thing every single day.
So this is not a cookie cutter.
This is not a cookie cutter. This is not a cookie cutter. Not at all. I mean, and yeah, it's something where you have to put some thought in it, and the only way to make a rational decision, or this decision that's best for the people of the state, is to understand what needs to be done. Wow. And I've done that in the past, and I'm currently doing it as Dauphin County Controller. I approve all the audit reports that come through Dauphin County. They have to come through me. I'm the final signer.
Now, you've been in this position, this line of work for over 30 years. Now, so the audience can understand, because see, I'm the type of individual, I like to simplify things.
Right.
We normally, so when we get comfortable in our position, we speak from here. And we assume everybody knows what you're talking about.
Right.
What entities that you had to audit?
Okay. Think of it this way. Anywhere where there's state funds going out, audit them. That's the Auditor General's responsibility. To audit any entities. Could be a business, could be a school, it could be a state department, but anywhere where the state hands out state
like colleges and stuff
right,
like
exactly,
that?
State taxpayer dollars.
Wow.
The Auditor General is responsible for that. So imagine the different entities across the Commonwealth that are getting state funds.
Right.
And so the Auditor General is responsible for all those. So, and it goes back to the last segment where we were talking about this not being cookie cutter. It's not. It is not, because of the vast responsibilities of this office.
So actually it's real heightened now because of the coronavirus.
Yes.
Because everybody is getting state funding now.
Yes.
So now you really have to be on top of fraud and everything else.
Right. And the unfortunate thing is whenever there's a big pile of money, you're going to have people committing fraud wanting to get at that pile of money, and they're going to think of different ways to go about trying to get at it. Different fraudulent ways, different ways to get to those funds to which they're not entitled. Again, as I stated earlier, I'm the Dauphin County Controller, and the Dauphin County received funding from the CARES Act for COVID-19, and it's my office's responsibility that not only are those funds divvied out to the individuals and the businesses who meet those standards, but also to make sure that no one is trying to commit fraud to get at those funds, because they know that they're there.
Okay, so let's shoot to the future. It's over. You won. You take office in January, right? What's the first thing you do as
That's it. That's one of the first things. As far as the COVID-19 funds that the state spent out and that the state got from the federal government and then spent out, making sure that the individuals who were supposed to receive those funds did in fact receive them. And in the instances where businesses or individuals received funds and they shouldn't have, make the recommendation that the treasurer or the legislature go after those, or if it's fraudulent, then the attorney general to go after those individuals. And also, as far as the different processes in the state, one of the things that the governor recently had an initiative with regards to carbon emissions, another one with regards to healthcare. And those are programs and processes that, again, are funded by taxpayer dollars. So one of the things that I also would do was put more emphasis on those types of programs. Once they're in place, go back and see if those programs are in fact working. Because there's a lot of money and a lot of resources that are put into a program when the programs are first starting out. But then you have to go back to make sure that those programs are in fact working. And also nursing homes. I audited and investigated nursing homes when I was with the Inspector General's office and Attorney General's office.
Right.
In Dauphin County, 90% of the COVID-19 deaths were in nursing homes.
Yes.
Why? So in a situation like that, when you audit them, I would bring in subject matter experts. I would bring in subject matter experts who are experts in infectious diseases, gerontology, and figure out what is the problem. Why are people dying? Right. Because the same level of care that are in nursing homes should also be the same level of care that are in hospitals.
Right.
But that doesn't seem to be the case because nursing homes are, their funding level is extremely low because most of those individuals in nursing homes, probably all of them, the only type of funding that they receive are through Medicaid and Medicare.
Wow.
And we know with regards to Medicaid and Medicare, as far as reimbursement, that's the lowest. So nursing homes need to, as far as the level of care, needs to be brought up to a higher level. Because not only are you trying to protect the people who are living in the nursing homes, but you also have to protect the workers. You also have to protect the people coming in to visit their loved ones. And the only way to do that is to increase the level of care in nursing homes. So those would probably be the biggest three issues that I would deal with.
Now, everybody know with me, I do my homework. Okay, and one of the things, now and I will admit that I didn't know a lot about the position of Audit General, okay? Heard about it, but never really had an interest in it, but didn't realize how it affected me. Right. So I started doing my homework and I started looking at what is the position of this individual, right? And what he or she supposed to do when you spoke about the structure of it. Right. And what really got me involved, all of it, but what really got me involved was y'all have to make sure that the money goes to the entities, especially in the urban community.
Right.
And I said, whoa, now, I am boots to the ground. I got dirt in my nails. I'm in the soil. I'm old school. I pull it by the roots.
Right.
You got to get in there and get the root out of there, right? Not no spray be gone root that cause cancer, Roundup. All that
putting it where the
stuff,
ghost can get it.
Exactly.
Right.
And I said, wow. So the individuals before you, right, was not making sure the money got to individuals like myself and other entities. Now, they might have sent the money, but that was it. They didn't double check to make sure it went where it's supposed to get. So it went to the representative, but it didn't go to the community. So I did my homework. Right. So I spoke, I go up Harrisburg all the time unannounced, but they still see me. And I talked to people at a very high position above my pay grade. And I said, well, why was that? And this is what they said to me. Because the government is accustomed to giving money to entities and individuals that they just been giving it to. Regardless of the outcome, regardless of did it work, is it still working, but because we don't want yoke on our face, right, we just keep giving it to them. So we don't give a new entity a shot at it because we accustom every pay cycle to give it to that organization, even though that organization is not doing the job. What you think of that?
Well, one, it's true. But two, why would you continue to fund a program that isn't working when there's other ones that are out there that aren't receiving the necessary funding that are good programs? Right. All they need is a little bit of funding. Mm-hmm. So, and it goes back to a comment that I made earlier. where you have to make sure that certain programs are working. You can't just throw funds at a program because you've always done it that way. And that's a line that I constantly hear in government. And when I first became Dauphin County Controller, I remember I questioned one of my staff about something, about how a process was done. And one of the things that they said, well, we've always done it that way. I almost fired him.
Wow.
I almost fired him.
That was a teachable moment.
That was a very teachable moment. So I called him back in the office and we had a conversation about it. But you can't, you have to make sure that something is working, and you have to, if it's not working, why is it? Try to fix it, but let's face it, Tracy, there's some programs out there who just their time has passed.
Right.
Their time has passed, and as the world changes, some programs need to change with it, or some programs, if they're not working, and people are just accustomed to receiving funding from the state because they always have, well, then unfortunately, maybe it's time for them to fund a new line of business. And
that's true, because I was dealing with the Philadelphia Reentry Coalition, and they tried to lock me in with them to be a part of them. And the reason I left them was because then he was Mayor Nutter, was the mayor, and he had got $3.5 million from out of New York's whatever. And he gave the money to them as far as prison reform, reentry, and so forth. So what they did was they called everybody in the community, right, that was doing prison reform and work. And we all showed up, different programs, everybody showed up. It was a room full of white people, right? And let me say this first, I have a lot of white friends, so listen. It was a room full of white people, and then all the black people that was there was the ones that was actually doing the work in the community, right? So we supposed to have a rap session to find out how we can better help the community.
Right.
But they was picking our brains, right? And trying to steal our ideas and then put it on paper for a program and present it as their own, right? So I found out about the $3.5 million. Here's how you know they didn't want us to know. So they had a Q&A was going on, and I wait to get to my section. And when they got to me, I said, yeah, well, y'all was just given $3.5 million. The eyebrows go up. And I say, can you tell me where the funding went? They did a football huddle right in front of me.
And these are state funds?
Yeah, state funds.
Yeah.
They come back and says it went to supplies. So I said a stapler costs $50,000. A paper clip is $100,000. How did you get $3.5 million? This is what I'm talking about, where the auditor supposed to come in there.
Right.
How do you get this type of money? You understand what I'm saying? And you don't know where it's supposed to go. And your response to person of my intelligence, my intellect, it went to supplies. And I fast forward.
It's a lot of supplies.
A lot of supplies. So I fast forward to Harrisburg. One of the senators and other people in there had gotten in some trouble with some females, whatever, and they was using money, taxpayers' money, to pay people off $300,000, that, this, and that. And they asked the Governor Wolf about that situation, and he said he didn't know. He said he didn't know that that money was going there. And that's where I started paying attention to the Auditor General and stuff, because you're supposed to know why is $300,000 going here and then another $200,000 going there, right, out of pocket.
Yeah.
You're supposed to know this because we believe in you. We putting you in office.
Right.
You're supposed to protect us from this nonsense.
And also, one of the things that, and in defense of the Auditor General, there are some things that they just may not know. However, when an individual like you says that, hey, this is what happened, that's when you go to the Auditor General's office and say, do you mind looking into this?
Absolutely.
And then they do a review. Because a lot, and I'm referring back when I was with the Inspector General's office and the Attorney General's office, a lot of the audits and a lot of the investigations that I handled were referrals. We definitely, in the Auditor General as well, we all do things proactively, things that we are legally required to do. But there's always that piece that we get from the community
Right.
that we get from individuals saying that, hey, these funds aren't being spent appropriately.
Right.
Here are the facts, and then the
Let me
Auditor
ask you
General's
this.
office or someone else takes it from there.
Now, to your knowledge, because you might not know, but I'm just asking, as Audit General, would you have the power to be able to have a satellite-like office in Philadelphia?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, as far as the satellite office, I believe there may already be one in Philadelphia, but I would definitely. Well, Harrisburg is the main office.
Right.
There's
There's
a satellite office. There was a satellite office in Pittsburgh, and there should be one here, but also to have one up in the northeastern part of the state.
Right.
But you need those
Pockets.
Need those satellite offices.
Right. Absolutely.
So and of course with the satellite office being here, deal with the issues that you're talking about.
And with the few minutes left, right, one question I have for you, then you can close out with who you are and why they should vote for you. But as Audit General, right, how would you enable the people to be able to get access to you through your satellite setting up here in Philadelphia?
Go out into the community. There's always something happening in the community. And what I would do, I would send staff in certain regions, and maybe even myself, go out into the community to let them know this is what we do as the Auditor General's office. If you have a referral, if you have a question, this is how you reach us with any of your questions and/or concerns. So as opposed to having the people come to us, we will go out into the community and go out to the people.
Absolutely. So with the few minutes left, how can the people reach you, be able to help you with your campaign, and actually get a better understanding to look you up and what you bring to the table of your qualifications?
Well, they can go to my campaign website, and the campaign website is DeFoor, DEFOOR, the number 4 PA.com, and fill out the form on how they would like to help me with my campaign. I would appreciate your help, and that would probably be the best way how to reach me and to reach my campaign staff. We constantly check that email address and that website hourly, so that would probably be the best way to do it. I would appreciate it.
Now, on a scale 1 to 10, right now, how confident are you with your campaign right now, running against your opponent?
I'm feeling good. Especially with some of the things that we've seen and some of the people we've talked to across the state. Unfortunately, one of the things dealing with a statewide office is that sometimes there are things that are said about you that aren't necessarily true. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I have time to address that.
You
okay.
do.
So, for example, there was an ad mm-hmm. by my opponent that mm-hmm. recently came out, where it states that as Auditor General, I would take away people's health care who have pre-existing conditions. Number one, that's not the Auditor General's responsibility. Only the legislature and only the governor can do that. That's mm-hmm. not part of the Pennsylvania Fiscal Code. In the Pennsylvania Fiscal Code, it tells the Auditor General what they can and what they can't do. So that's definitely not true. Number two, I have a pre-existing condition. I have asthma. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, several years ago, I had an asthma attack so severe I was hospitalized. Okay. I have relatives who are getting dialysis and need new kidneys. And I have a sibling, an Iraqi war veteran, decorated Iraqi war veteran, who is dealing with breast and brain cancer.
Wow.
And that obviously is a pre-existing condition. Mm-hmm. So why would I want to take away someone's pre-existing condition or even talk about it, because I can't do it, when myself and family members also have that? Right.
So with that, I want to thank you for Tim DeFoor for coming, running for Audit General. I'm Tracey L Fisher, a reentry point of view. Thank you. Unapologetic.